What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to RJF Media. I'm Rob. And on this one, we're going to be doing something a little different because it's episode 1 of the weekly roundup. That's right, episode 1. On this, I kind of just want to just take some of the biggest topics going around Jets land and just sum it all up into one video, hopefully short video, and just kind of give my thoughts on each one instead of making 10 different videos about the same thing that everyone else is doing. And that way, it's just everyone can come to, one platform to see what's going on for the week. So with that being said, let's jump right in. Before we do that though, please hit the like button, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you're notified every time I make a new video. I highly appreciate it. It helps a lot. But with that being said, jump to topic 1, which to me is the biggest topic of the week. It is all the Jamal Adams news. As most people have seen, he's been kind of referencing old Jets tweets, commenting on old Jets tweets, responding to people, kind of, wanting to link back up with the Jets, is open to coming back to New York and playing here again. To me, I want no part of it. I don't think the Jets want any part of it, especially with some of the stuff that has gone down this past season between both Jamal Adams and the Jets media, more specifically Connor Hughes attacking his wife, basically, for lack of better terms, calling her ugly or whatever the case may be. I think it's just the way he wanted gone in the first place. He didn't want to be here. He wanted out. He wanted new change scenery. Even admitted he didn't like the coaching staff. He was here. He was meant to be here to be a building block, to be a cornerstone of this team, especially in defense. Very outspoken, very, very charismatic guy. And if it played out like we all hoped it would, I think it could have been very successful. But the minute adversity hit, he kind of checked out, wanted no part of it, just kind of saying off the wall things, just acting really inappropriate, just acting unprofessional, I should say, towards the organization, and ultimately forcing his way out to Seattle. I think if the Jets do bring him back, that'd be probably one of the craziest trade scenarios in the NFL. A team like Seattle giving up 2 first-round picks for him, which resulted in Garrett Wilson and AVT, and then have him ultimately return, I think would just be crazy. But to me, I just think ultimately it's just not a fit, especially with the media. I think, he's saying now he wants to come back, he wants to reunite with his team and everything. But I think the second he got here and just the media got hold of him, I think it would just be an absolute shit show, for lack of better terms. I just think it would just be the same thing. He would just feel adversity and just want nothing to do with it again. I don't know why he wouldn't think of that, but it is what it is. And also, I think that honestly, there's just better options. I don't see Jamal Adams as a guy who would be willing to take a pay cut or willing to play on a team-friendly deal, especially a team like the Jets. And the Jets tax probably coming back this season. I just don't see that. And then, when you have guys already that are up for a new contract, guys like Chuck Clark, guys like Ashton Davis, I think are just better value options. Especially, you don't need a high value, high priced safety when you have the defensive backs like Sauce Gardner, DJ Reed, Michael Carter II. I don't think that high profile safety is really necessary. So again, to me, I'm completely out on Jamal Adams. He's left a sour taste in my mouth for the rest of my life, and I don't want anything to do with him. And again, I don't think this Jets organization does either. But it's news with the Jets, so of course it's going to be out there like a possibility. The second thing I want to go over is the Jets voided 4 contracts this past week, being Carl Lawson, Quentin Jefferson, Dwayne Brown, and Jordan Whitehead. Sorry, had a mind blank for a second. Out of all of them, I think the most realistic to probably return is someone like a Quentin Jefferson, who was really having a career year, stepped in really well in place of Al Woods. his run stopping had a little bit to be desired, but overall just had a really great season. Added that pressure up the middle to get to the quarterback, to help Quinn Williams out, and guys like Jermaine Johnson and Bryce Huff and John Franklin Myers. Dwayne Brown, it was a great one-year experiment the first year he came in. Then he signed the extension, and I think a lot of people like myself had some reservation, like, okay, this guy's coming off major injury, or he's coming off an injury, 39 years old, left tackle, how well is he really going to hold up? And the Jets really put all their eggs in the Dwayne Brown basket, and it kind of blew up in their face. So I don't see him coming back unless the Jets really get desperate and they just swing and miss on everything. It's like, can you please come back for, $5 million incentive Leighton, or, whatever the case may be. But I just don't see it. It was a great one-year story. Came in 38 years old, played really well. And then that was just, after the injury, that was just kind of it. The next one being Carl Lawson. It's really hard to pinpoint what this signing really was, because I really don't think that there are a lot of people who were mad at the Carl Lawson signing. We needed an edge rusher. He's a veteran guy. He was a consistent 8-9 sack guy with a lot of potential if he could just stay healthy. And, he played all right his first season. Wasn't spectacular by any means, but was a very steady presence on that defensive lines, defensive end position. I think just the injuries and then the emergence of Bryce Huff and Jermaine Johnson, I think just kind of rendered his position, his role useless on this team. And now moving forward, you see, again, the progression of guys like, Jermaine Johnson, Bryce Huff. Is he going to come back? Will McDonald, John Franklin Myers. There's just a lot of bodies that are in that position to where his contract is really expendable. And I think, I don't blame Joe Douglas for the signing initially, but I think out of all the contracts that you could potentially, kick the can down the road and restructure, I didn't really understand why Carl Lawson was one of them. I do, because he was making a ton of money, but at the same time, it was, okay, you drafted Jermaine Johnson, you're expecting him to take the next step. You drafted, Will McDonald. Granted, you didn't know if he was going to be there. I mean, odds were he probably was, because a lot of people had a second-round grade on him. You have Bryce Huff, who's emerging. You have John Franklin Myers, who's solid, who's a very solid defensive end / defensive tackle. So where was his role? Especially another one coming off an injury, coming off a back injury, which he has a history of. So that's where it kind of lost me. I didn't understand, again, why all the contracts that you can restructure, kick the can down the road, why it was somebody with an injury history who you're bringing in other players to kind of fill that position anyway for the future. So that's, I think that's where it really sucks, because this year I think we're paying him $6 or $8 million, something like that, to not be on the team. And it sucks. That money could have been allocated somewhere else. But, it is what it is. He's not going to be here. The next one being Jordan Whitehead. This is an interesting one. Another one had a career year, 4 interceptions, 3 of them coming in the first game against Buffalo. But to me, I don't really want him back either, because I see Jordan Whitehead as a person that's going to go to the free agent market and is probably going to get paid pretty handsomely, because he is coming off a career year. And teams always need defensive back help. He's a notable name. And again, you have guys like Chuck Clark, Ashton Davis, Tony Adams. I forgot to mention before that you have there to fill roles. It just kind of, it's one of those things. I really don't see the Jets wanting to get into a bidding war for safety. I think it's just kind of one of those things. Thank you for your service. Good luck in the future. But that's one I don't really see coming back either, and I don't really want coming back as well. Another thing is he still this past year just misses way too many tackles, goes for shoulder tackles, doesn't wrap up, and it's just one of those, you see it twice a game, and it just drives you crazy. Why, why don't you just tackle? But, moving on to the next topic, notably probably one of the biggest ones is David Bakhtiari's expect to be released by the Green Bay Packers, freeing up about $21 million. And, I guess rightfully so, being rumored to the New York Jets because of his friendship with Aaron Rodgers. And just that connection alone, I think, is just going to draw these conclusions that, oh, Bakhtiari, he's going to the Jets. He's going to choose the Jets. Rodgers going to talk to him. That's his best friend. He's going to get him here on a cheap deal. Look, if you're telling me you get David Bakhtiari for $3 million, incentive latent, okay, maybe, but again, the guy's coming for making over $20 million a year. I don't see him saying, okay, sure, I'll take, $3, $4, $5 million. I don't, even if it is incentive based, I just don't see that. And the thing with, I kind of hit on this on the Tyron Smith video that I made a while back. If you get somebody like a Bakhtiari, you basically have to get 2 starting caliber left tackles, Bakhtiari and someone else, because Bakhtiari is going to miss time. And if this really is an all-in year, this year and maybe next year, we don't really know what's going to happen. You can't really hedge on, okay, well, we'll just, put Carter Warren in there. Hopefully he's developed enough to protect, Rodgers' blind side, or, okay, we're going to shuffle AVT back over here, or, anything like that. You need an established left tackle who maybe middle of the road, average to below average guy, to have as a backup. And if you're a starting caliber left tackle, I don't understand why you would come to the Jets to be a backup on a team-friendly deal that has, all this dysfunction. It shuffles people around. It doesn't really make sense when teams always need tackles. Teams always need O-line help. So I don't understand why, a starting caliber left tackle would come here on a team-friendly deal to be a backup when they can most likely go somewhere else, get more money, and start. I think that a Bakhtiari move would really just hinder you as far as roster position goes, because he's going to be taking up a roster spot. He's going to get hurt at some point. He's missed something like 40 games in 4 years or whatever the case is, something crazy like Tyron Smith, and it's just, you can't hedge on that. You can't put your eggs in that basket. The Jets did that with Dwayne Brown, and it didn't work out. Granted, Dwayne Brown's much older, but he didn't have an injury history. He had a couple injuries throughout his career, but nothing all that serious until this shoulder injury, that labrum tear, and now look at he's on the way out. So Bakhtiari, I'm out on it. I really don't. Like I said, if he wants to take $2 million, $3 million, they make the playoffs. You get an extra $5-6 million if they win, go to the AFC Championship, whatever case may be. You get more money, blah blah blah, something like that. All right, maybe I'll listen to it, but just the injury history, players don't stay healthy at MetLife, so no, thank you. Maybe if this was 5 years ago. And the last thing I want to talk about before we wrap up is Bryce Huff. So, there's all the talk that, it's pretty much a foregone conclusion. He's not going to resign. The Jets aren't going to resign him. They're not going to tag him. But there have been some speculations that it could be like an 11th hour contract agreement with the Jets. And it's really, basically that he could re-sign with the Jets. It would just be an 11th hour kind of thing, last minute. This is tough. This is a really tough one because I think for the money he's going to want, and deservedly so, I don't think the Jets in a position that they're in with all the help they need on offense, that they're really going to be in a position to match that. It's rumored he's wanting around $20 million a year, $20+ million. I don't see the Jets being able to come close to that again. And, you know, him wanting to be play a bigger role. I see a couple of things with that. I understand he wants a bigger role. I think he played something like 40% of snaps or something like that. But the thing is, going from 40 to 60 or 70% of the snaps, that is a huge jump. That requires you to play the run. That requires you to be out there longer. Can he physically do it? That's my question. There's no doubt in my mind he's a freak athlete, especially for someone of his stature. He's shorter arms and everything, and his role has been, you know, a pass rush specialist, and he's dominating that. But for a bigger role, for playing, again, 60, 70% of the snaps, what is that going to look like? And especially if, you know, this regime, if they're on the hot seat and they're gone, and you're giving Bryce Huff, who played very well in a specific role, you know, all this money, and now you have all this dead cap associated with him. How does that really play out? The other thing is, you know, you have who's getting pushed down? Who's getting pushed down the depth chart? Is it Jermaine Johnson? Is it John Franklin Myers, who there's speculation he could be cut or restructured, or, you know, whatever the case may be with that? Is it Will McDonald? Are you taking another mulligan on his career for another year and saying, okay, well, now you're going to be relegated to the 4th or 5th option again, and then in a year or so, when Franklin Myers is gone or whatever, then you're going to take the... Who's getting pushed down the depth chart? But the thing is, it sucks, right? Because one of the things that Saleh's preached when he's gotten here is, you know, his goal is to get these players paid, to put them in a position to where they're due for a big payday. And forever, the Jets could never develop anybody. Offense, defense, you know, they just couldn't do it, especially defensive end, edge rusher. John Abraham, you know, there was always talk. John Abraham's the last real pass rusher he had. And we finally developed one, undrafted free agent, double-digit sacks. And now you're in this position to where it's like, okay, yeah, we said that we wanted to get you guys paid, but yeah, it's not going to be with us. And I think that's a bad look for the other young players in the organization, especially guys like Sauce Gardner, Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall, Jermaine Johnson, all these young players. And it's like, okay, well, I mean, this guy did everything he was supposed to, you know, deserved way more money than he was paid, but now they're letting him go somewhere else because they don't want to, you know, reward him with the contract he deserves. So it's kind of twofold. It's tough. To me, I think it's just, I don't think you can keep him. I really don't. As much as it sucks to say, I love Bryce Huff. He's an absolute freak off the edge. But again, with the needs this team has, especially on the offense side of the ball, do you want to relegate another 16, 17, 18, 20, whatever the contract number is, $1 million a year to this player who's so far been a role player, and you don't really know if he can take that next step to be that full-time starter, which maybe he can, maybe he can't. I don't know. I think he has to drive to do it, but you know, I'm not trying to take anything away. I love Bryce Huff again. It's tough to say. It's tough to make decision. It's almost like a lose-lose. You can re-sign him for all this money and lose out on players that you really need in positions of need, or you can let him walk for probably nothing. And now, how does that make you look as an organization? But you know, it is what it is. That's the weekly roundup. Episode 1 of the weekly roundup. Let me know in the comments down below what you think. Are there any topics I should have talked about that I didn't? What do you think about the contracts that are avoided? What do you think about Bakhtiari and Huff and, you know, all the Jamal Adams and everything else I talked about? Let me know in the comments down below. Like, share, subscribe. And again, thank you for watching, and let's go Jets.